Sometimes people wonder, is emotional intelligence part of mindfulness or mindfulness part of emotional intelligence? I would describe them as complementary systems. They're both about slowing down, creating space. Viktor Frankl's quote, between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies our freedom and liberation. What if we could expand that space with our minds, with our hearts? What if we could pay attention and slow down time so that we could tune in to our thoughts, but also tune in to the voices of our emotion, the little whispers of feeling that are messages from us to us about what really matters. We could find more clarity, we could find more intentionality, we could find deeper connection, and we could find greater purpose. That's what happens when we use mindfulness and emotional intelligence together. So what is mindfulness? Well, a few years ago when I was a teenager, I became fascinated by Japan, and that led me to become curious about Zen Buddhism, which is a whole system of mindfulness practice from Japan. And what's interesting to me about Zen Buddhism is there are many forms of mindfulness that don't involve sitting on a cushion in meditation. But for me, the real act of meditation isn't about sitting. In Zen Buddhism, there are all these forms of mindfulness, like throwing a pot, or swinging a sword, or shooting an arrow, or raking a gravel garden. There was a monk in one of the temples that we got to stay with, who is a neuroscientist trained in the United States, who came back to Japan to be part of his family business of being a monk. And he explained that when you're raking the garden, the tines of the rake are moving through the stones, and it represents the passage of time and your full attention on the moment. In the rake, as it's moving, behind the rake is the past, ahead of the rake is the future, and the tines of the rake are moving smoothly through the present, the ever-changing present. And that is the essence of mindfulness. It's about using your full mind in the moment. It's not about some obscure form of meditation or some mantra that you need to say or a special cushion or a special drink you need to have. It's about using your whole mind in the moment to focus on this passing time. And like the river, it's constantly moving. There's no point where you can say, okay, it stopped. Well, with the camera, we can slow time down and we can watch the passage of water in slow motion. That's what mindfulness is all about. It's about focusing on the moment with your full attention, bringing your whole mind to this moment. What emotional intelligence is all about is bringing your whole heart to this moment. So as we think about these two things working together, in the 6 seconds model of emotional intelligence, we often talk about integrating our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. It's a triangle that's in a dynamic balance. Like the moving river, it's in a constant state of flow. What we know from current neuroscience is that there is no thought that precedes feeling, that precedes action. Thought, feeling, and action is in this dynamic cycle, one fueling the other. Which came first? They're happening together. You're in this moment right now, and it's not a blank slate. As you're this very second, you're watching this video, your thoughts, feelings, and actions are influencing each other. Are you paying attention to all 3 points of the triangle? Is there one of these 3 areas of the triangle that you're overemphasizing, that you're leaning too much into to the exclusion of the others? Or sometimes when you start settling it in that triangle, does one side collapse because it's weak, because you haven't developed it? In some way, the essence of emotional intelligence and mindfulness working together is this balancing, this attention to mind, this attention to heart, this attention to body or action. We're able to use our wholehearted attention, our whole-minded attention, and our full energy in this moment. And when these three things are working together, something is unleashed in you. Something that's going to give you more clarity and also more energy. More clarity about what's important to you, what's important to others, what's important in the world. And energy to step forward with an inner strength that lets you be the person you really mean to be. The water is constantly changing and flowing. It's the same, and yet it's dynamic. There's an energy. There's a pattern that in some ways repeats, but it's always new. And in that newness, there's a vitality and a sense of possibility. And what if we could engage in the world like that? I'd like to share a practice with you that can help you use this idea of mindfulness and emotional intelligence together. In our EQ Coach certification training, we use something called presence-based coaching from an author named Doug Silsbee. And Silsbee describes 3 doorways to presence. And I want to suggest these 3 doorways are kind of like 3 ways you can open your eyes. And he says that one doorway to presence is through your mind, one is through your emotions, and one is through your physical body. So maybe you're going for a walk, or you're washing the dishes, or you're writing a letter. Really, almost anything that you do, you can do as a practice of mindfulness and emotional intelligence together. It's about how you engage in what you're doing and why you engage in what you're doing. And we have a model for coaching with emotional intelligence where we have these 3 rings: what, how, and why. And what we're trying to do is bring these 3 rings together. And in a way, that is a practice of emotionally intelligent mindfulness. So you can try it, going for a walk in the trees. And one step is that you notice. And you say, oh, that's a tree. It's green. Oh, it has short needles. It has long needles. Let me notice what's happening with this tree. The second step is you feel. And you just take a breath in and notice the emotional experience of looking at that tree. Maybe it's peaceful, maybe it's sad, maybe it makes you irritated, maybe it makes you joyful, maybe it calms you. It doesn't matter. Just notice the emotional experience. And as you've seen in some of our other videos, we can teach you a lot more about emotions. And the idea that we don't just have one emotion at a time. We're actually creating lots and lots of feelings all the time. And so as you look at this tree, you open your heart as a metaphor, but also literally kind of imagine that feeling of your heart expanding and opening to let some of those feelings in. So there's a big difference between thinking about something and feeling something. And we can literally do that. We can touch the tree and we can go, oh, these are the leaves of a tree. This is the kind of tree it is. But we can also feel it. We can feel that it's spiky. We can feel that it's cool. We can feel that it's smooth. The next step is about the meaning. What is the significance of this for you? What's it like for you to be noticing and in this place? What is it like for you to be fully present washing your dishes? What is it like for you to be fully present pulling the weeds in the garden? Whatever it is that you're doing, as you do it with a whole mind and a whole heart, and you start to feel, then you can ask yourself about the meaning of this for you. How does this experience connect you beyond yourself? And it's in that space of connectedness that we bring in the third circle. What we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it. And as you practice bringing those 3 circles together in the day-to-day activities of your life, you'll be activating your mindfulness, your heartfulness, and your purposeful engagement in the world.